A lot goes into what people consider the movie look. A lot of people think it's just 24 frames per second, and that's part of it, but that's not the whole thing. Like if you take a regular video that you shot and you change the frame rate to 24 frames per second, that's not going to make it look any more like a movie. It's going to make it look worse, as a matter of fact.
It's going to make it look choppy and weird.
Without getting too deep into it, part of it was the camera. A lot of it for us had to do with the camera. The Panasonic, both the HVX and its younger brother or sister, however you choose to look at it, its younger sibling, the DVX, which is basically the same camera but not HD. They have a way of recording and reacting to light that's very, very close to film. It's very close to the way film reacts, so the highlights and the shadows and all of that are balanced in a way that you don't get with a lot of video cameras. So that in and of itself gets you a lot of the way there. Now that kind of causes a problem because particularly in the case of the HVX, it becomes a light hog, and you really need a lot of light to be able to see anything. But once
it'll work well, but it's really hungry for light. You can't film in the dark; it's going to get grainy. I mean, no matter what, and that's true of any camera. Really, it's just some have different tolerances.
Right. But once you get that light, obviously, it looks great. Part of it is lighting. Well, we were lucky enough that we had a lot of fluorescent lighting overhead, so it was a very diffuse thing. There were no hard shadows, and we didn't really need to think about it, except under the grate, where we wanted a lot of hard shadows and stuff like that on us. So we set up the lights.
Yeah, we spent a fair amount of time making sure that our lighting was set up because we knew that it was a big, important thing. So that was number one. That was part of when we were talking to Ruben about the location. That was one of the first things I asked is what kind of lighting do we have in there? Are there a lot of fluorescence overhead and stuff like that? And they actually had it sort of worked out in our budget that if we needed to, we'd run out to the local hardware store and buy just more fluorescent lights to hang, because that is so important to get enough light.
Right.
Not just enough, but in the right way, and in the case of Under the Grate, artistically. So we got some lights hanging up there and really put the time in to make sure that it's what we wanted to see. We're not just filming this as it is, because you're likely to have it's going to be too dark or whatever.
So lighting, proper exposure. The best thing to have is a camera that you have a lot of manual control. You can control the focus and the exposure and the zoom and all that stuff without it constantly trying to second guess you. Which is nice when you're trying to, the automatic stuff is nice when you're trying to shoot a birthday party or something and you can't be that fast with it. But when you're actually trying to shoot a controlled film situation, you need all the control that you can get. So make sure things aren't blown out too bright, dark things aren't too dark, you can see things in the shadows and the highlights as much as possible.
Don't be afraid to shot by shot if there are problems to try to fix them.
Right.
Like if you're doing a close-up and his face is too dark on this side, have somebody stand there with a big white card next to him and bounce some light onto him. No one's going to see the dude.
Or a light if you need it. People, that's the magic of films. Just as long as it's not in the frame, people don't know it's there, and it doesn't matter. So just get the best image possible. It's a circular thing to say. How do you get the movie look? By getting a really good movie look. But get the best thing to start with possible, because there wasn't a lot of post-production stuff that we did in terms of getting a look. Obviously we spent a lot of times with the effects, but we didn't tweak the video to get a movie look. We didn't use any kind of plugins.
We didn't put it through any filters or magic bullet kind of stuff.
Yeah, it was.
We did some basic color timing to keep the whites correct and keep the balance right.
Yeah, there were two kinds of fluorescence, so if we shot in one area, we would look kind of yellow, and if we shot in another area, we'd look kind of green. So we had to balance those out to make it look like, one even color palette all the way through. But other than that, we didn't run it through any filters. So that's the main thing for getting a movie look, is just getting a really good image where you can see, you've got good light and good shadow and a good balance of the image. The other thing is the way you shoot it, the framing, how you choose to shoot it. There's a lot of stuff like rule of thirds, unless you're really going for a certain effect, you kind of want to put something off-center in the frame. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it. There's a lot of books out there that you can read about cinematography. One of the most popular ones is a book called Film Directing Shot by Shot. I believe it's by Stephen Katz.
It's usually a big blue book.
It's a blue book.
sort of sketches on.
Yeah, there's a big blue book. There was a follow-up cinematic motion shot by shot, which tells you how to move the camera, not just choose framing. For people who are more advanced, that used to be a green book, but they came out with a new edition and now it's red. Whatever. You can look those books up on Amazon.com. They should have them at just about any bookstore. If you're really serious about this kind of stuff and about getting the best look you can, I highly, highly, highly recommend one of those books. There's a book called The 5 C's of Cinematography. There's a lot of books out there that you really need to read, and watch a lot of movies, and pay attention to the movies. Why is this a cool shot? Why does that look good? And if there's a shot you don't like, why didn't I like that shot? Why didn't that work for me? And just always be looking and learning and trying to learn new things, because just saying I want it to look like a movie isn't going to get you there. You gotta go out and do your homework.
Yeah, test stuff out too. I mean, get out there. I know for me, every time I work on any kind of project, I grow immensely.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when you make stuff and then you look at it and you go, oh, okay, well, this worked out good. This could have been better. You improve every time. So even if you don't think it's going to be good or whatever, still go out and make it. You're going to learn from it, and you're going to get better. And that goes for everything, too. I mean, not just, getting a movie look or your cinematography skills, but visual effects and stuff, too. I mean, try things, test things out, and then grow step by step, Don't try to jump ahead to sort of, oh, there's this one trick that'll make it look like a movie. Right. It's all kinds of things. It's a large skill set that you develop over time and experience.
Yeah, there's no, even though there is a program called Magic Bullet, there's no magic bullet to make your film look great. You've got to do it yourself.
The music in Ryan vs. Darkman 2. We get a lot of questions. We've had people ask, like, oh, what movie is it from? What soundtrack is that off of? And the music in Ryan vs. Darkman 2 is original. It was written for this film. And we got on board guy by the name of Gordy Hab, and he suggested we also talk to a fellow named Kyle Newmaster, and these guys were the composers on Ryan vs. Darkman 2, and they're fantastic to work with, where you have lots of footage. We have a whole segment on the DVD about the music and developing it and writing it with them, and eventually recording it. Which they wrote all this music, and our original idea was to do it just MIDI or something like that. But when we talked about the idea of doing it with a real orchestra on our website, we got a big reaction online from
just an influx
fans.
of people who were interested in it, and a second wave of donations to help us out with that, and it just made it happen. And so we ended up recording it with a 60-piece orchestra at Capitol Studios, and as you can see just watching the film, it sounds absolutely great. If you're interested in the soundtrack itself, you can buy that on CD on our website, along with the 7-minute track that is comprises the movie. We also have an interview, which is an hour and 8 minutes long, so 68 minutes, of myself and Ryan interviewing our composers, Gordy and Kyle. So if you're really interested in film music and composing and just another aspect of filmmaking in general, I think you'll find that really interesting and really invaluable to hear some insights from people who do this stuff and do it well.
Yeah, definitely. Especially if you're looking to get into the field yourself, especially in Hollywood. They've got a lot to say about it, and there's a lot of interesting stuff in there, so check it out. We got a lot of people in the credits. We got some long credits, and the question we get is, do we have a lot of people that are working on set? Not really, no. As far as involved actively in the production of the film, on the shooting side, in those 10 days in Atlanta, there were 4 people. Myself, Mike, Travis Bowles, who filmed 98% of the movie, and a friend of ours named Brandon Flight, who was helping out on everything and just doing everything else that we needed, including shooting a lot of our behind-the-scenes footage.
Shooting behind the scenes, pulling the dolly, getting our props ready, just keeping an eye out for continuity, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. So it was a very small group. I mean, it was just us four for that whole time, and then the visual effects we did ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We had 2 other artists do 3D work for us. We had
Right.
2 or 3. We had 3 shots.
3 shots
that involved CGI.
Mm-hmm.
The evil bad word.
when and CGI, just to be clear, CGI refers to anything you've done with computers, but most people use it to refer to 3D. So when we say that, obviously, you know, most of our movie has CGI. In fact, I don't think there's more than half a dozen shots that don't have CGI. But when we use that, we're referring to 3D elements that were, you know, animated and rendered, and there's 3 of those shots.
Right. Yeah, we had a guy named Daniel Broadway who stepped in and modeled Mike's lightsaber in the
Mm-hmm.
virtual world so for a couple of shots.
Mm-hmm.
And a coworker of mine by the name of Tony Ocampo did 3D arm stump for that shot.
Right.
And aside from that, that's about it. As far
as the rest of the credits go, they donated to the project. As we mentioned before, you know, we ended up getting a lot of donations to help us get that score recorded. You know, a lot of people donated to help us fly out there in the first place and all that stuff. You know, so there was a lot of. We ended up putting a lot of money into it ourselves. You know, getting the camera and getting the laptop and you know, just getting this production going. And we always said, even if we get nothing in donations, we're still going to make this, and we would have. But it wouldn't have been the same without all the help and support from all of our fans who donated to us, because I mean they just made it that much better. Every dollar, every cent that we got that we didn't have, we were able to then get that much more production and that much more value into the film, and I think it really shows when you watch it.
Yeah, we really wanted to give us, you know, a special thank you to all that. So
Mm-hmm.
that was, you know, from day one, that was put your name in the credits was an incentive, or was, you know, our thanks, our gift to those who are supporting us financially, and so everybody's in the credits there.
So yeah, that's what they did. You know, we were working on the production. They just donated money, but it was huge. It was huge for us.